Peace, everyone. I hope this video finds you in great spirits. Today, I want to talk about the differences in each church and why these differences make a difference without judgment. Let's look at the Greeks and the Romans, some of the earliest examples of Christian following. The Greeks had a way of taking philosophy and understanding of the soul and bringing a truth and intellect to the Christian message, while the Romans spread the Christianity. They had conquered Greece, and the spreading of Christianity happened through a Roman way, but the philosophy, the intellectual understanding came from a Greek way. Catholic and Lutheranism. So before Lutheranism, Catholicism was the way that people were able to communicate with God, and what they used was the Pope. The Pope was essentially the middleman between you and God. You want to talk to God, you have to go through the Pope, and as a result, the Roman Catholic Church controlled a lot of what the people could do. Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King, but Martin Luther changed that when he brought about Lutheranism, which allowed people to have a personal relationship with God. So while they both celebrate the same monotheistic understanding of Christ as Savior, Catholicism, you use the Pope to get through, and other priests and things like that. Whereas in Lutheranism, that personal relationship comes between you and God. Methodist versus Baptist. So I grew up in an African Methodist Episcopal church, and what I've noticed is that we are more conservative than what you might expect from an expressive, full-bodied, spirited Baptist church. While the Methodist church has more of a conserved way that can at times feel to me as if you're preventing yourself from expressing what God has put you through, I've also come to learn that this was a product of, especially in the South, Baptist practitioners over embellishing what's going on with them spiritually as a way to get clout. So on one hand, people are maybe downplaying this spiritual experience by straying away from the charismatic stuff. The other side may be over-whooping or embellishing as a way to get some type of spiritual or even community currency. So there's pros and cons to both. I know I'm personally letting go of the chains of being stoically expressive because I do need a little bit more expression, but I also appreciate the clarity that can come through quiet but reserved focus. So one has stability, but it can feel a little bit restrictive, and the other one has expressiveness, but it can feel a little bit performative. And this is no judgment. Let's look at the written word versus the inspired word. So the Bible is inspired by God, though it's been written by humans. You look at the Old Testament, which was largely written by Ezra, who lived hundreds of years after Moses did. You look at Paul, who wrote the New Testament, who lived after Jesus lived, and then it was written and constructed even after his time. He didn't necessarily have a secretary that was walking with him taking all the notes, but the teachings that he spread throughout the world end up becoming the Bible. And even the Bible itself then becomes constructed by a committee of people who deem what's important for the actual books of the Bible that we've decided are the ones to commit to. So there's some inspiration here. When we say who wrote the books, it's not so much then at that point about who wrote it, but it's about capturing a sentiment of a group of people. And then lastly, this idea of extinction and dominion of the earth and how they relate. The extinction of the prehistoric era that wipes off the dinosaurs happens from a very rare natural phenomenon. It turns out an asteroid hits a shallow part of the Gulf of Mexico that eliminates all life form except for mammals, which is eventually where we get humans from. And so this also still pairs in with the idea that God has gave humans dominion over the world, because here we are, and the group before that was completely wiped out. And when you look at the Bible and they say this world will end by fire, well, we'll see. The dinosaurs certainly had a big wipeout from that lens. So in closing, I just want to say there's different ways to look at things, but they all can have a similar lens. The differences that we look at them may get us to where we want to go, but at the end of the day, we all need a little bit of grace because everyone has something that they're working on. If you have a high in your life, you have also created an opportunity for a low, because that's just the yin and yang flow of universe. If you have a thing in yourself that's a good quality, then there may be something in you that's flawed. Or there is something in you that is flawed. And so giving yourself grace for both ends is key. Okay, I hope these differences helped in some way. I hope they brought a little bit of clarity to somebody. Hope to see you on the next video. Much love. Peace.